Hey, I got an idea. Let's play a game where we use a creepy-ass board to summon up spirits from the dead because we want to talk to them. It's just a game, it's fine, nothing's gonna happen, right? You stupid motherfuckers. What's going on, everybody? It's the Granddad, Granddad Woolly, and you are here again for another edition of Woolly Reviews. Film Data. We got another movie review today, and seeing as we're still in October and it's still Halloween season, I'm going to keep it going with the theme, and we're going to do another horror movie. We're talking about one that just dropped today in theaters, and it's been getting a little bit of a popularity factor going on, so we're going to holler at it. Talking about Ouija. Now, Ouija is the new horror movie from the producers of Insidious and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it stars a whole bunch of people who you don't even fucking know. Like, it's a lot of cast. It's like one of the movies where they get a whole bunch of random, like, you know, upcoming cast members who probably did some stuff here and there, but you really can't put your finger on who exactly it is, you know, probably to keep the budgets cut. But they do have one guy that I did recognize. He used to be on this ABC show called Secret Life of the American Teenager. Don't ask me how I know. Fuck it. I used to watch this show, okay? It was pretty damn good, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I liked it, okay? So fuck you if you got something to say about that. But anyway, we're talking about Ouija. Now, the movie centers around a group of teens. As always, it's always about the teens. But mainly about two best friends, Debbie and Lane. They've been together since, you know, day one. They ride or die. And in the movie, it starts off, they're little kids, and they're actually playing with one of these Ouija spirit boards. And it seems that the girl, Debbie, is more fascinated in it. She seems to be drawn to doing these things, you know, playing with the board and everything like that. And Lane, who ends up actually being the main character, isn't too, you know, sold on these spirit board things. So it kind of starts off that way, you know, just to, you know, bring in the whole Ouija element. And then it fast forwards to when they're, you know, high schoolers, you know, and everything like that. And the girl, Debbie, was actually in her home, and she had another Ouija board, and she was actually, I guess, contacting, you know, spirits. Now, from what we hear in the movie, there's things you don't do with a Ouija board. One is you don't play alone, and you don't play in a graveyard, and something else. But basically, you don't do any of that shit. And apparently, this girl, Debbie, broke all the fucking rules. She didn't give a fuck, and she was playing the Ouija board by herself, and she ended up summoning some sort of spirit. And lo and behold, this is just the beginning part. I'm not gonna give away the whole movie, but lo and behold, the spirit ends up becoming an evil spirit, and Debbie ends up hanging herself with Christmas lights. And that's kind of like how the movie sets the tone. Now, from that point on, the best friend Lane and all of her other friends, like, you know, the Debbie girl's boyfriend and Lane's boyfriend and, you know, another friend that they have, they end up trying to figure out why and how this could have happened, because they don't think that their friend Debbie would kill herself and commit suicide, especially with some fucking Christmas lights. That's creative. But I'm getting, well, anyway. So they, you know, go and they try to figure out, you know, what's going on. Mainly Lane, she's kind of obsessed with the fact of figuring out what happens. So she goes through, you know, her room and everything like that. And she ends up finding the Ouija board that Debbie was using to contact spirits. So with her being her and her remembering, you know, how it used to be when they were kids using the Ouija board, she came up with the idea of maybe if we use this board to try to contact Debbie, she can tell us why this happened or what happened. So she enlists her friends, who at first are like, nah, I ain't doing that shit. That shit sounds creepy. But she ends up convincing them anyway to do it. And, you know, they get together in the house that she died in, and they end up trying to make contact with Debbie. They try to make contact with her, and they end up awakening a different spirit, which is more evil, which they think is Debbie at first, but it's actually a different evil spirit. And they actually end up waking up more than one spirit. And from that point on in the movie, each of the teens in the movie who were actually a part of that, you know, session where they were using the spirit board end up getting haunted by the spirit, and one by one they end up being put through all these terrible, terrible situations until, you know, everybody goes crazy and have to figure out why this is happening. Now, the movie, for the most part, is not amazingly great, but it is a decent movie. The story plays out well. Now, it does start off very, very slow. Like, when you first start watching the movie, they kind of drag on the story of, you know, Debbie and her death, and then the funeral and everything that goes on. It just kind of lags a lot. And then it doesn't start to pick up until they start doing the whole spirit board thing. And it starts to pick up. That's when you start getting the scares and, you know, the creepiness. And then after that, it dips down again and lags some more. And then it picks up again. So it's a real defibrillator, whatever, you know, heart monitor type movie where it goes up and down and, you know, flatlines a little bit and then goes up and down. But for the most part, the movie story is a solid story. It's pretty good. It kind of keeps you going. You don't feel like you want to just be like, you tune out. but it kind of bounces in between, you know, horror movie and drama. You know, it bounces between the two genres in a way, because, you know, you don't get straight up horror all the way through. It kind of has to push the story along, and then it like pauses the horror factor, and then it goes to the drama, then it pauses the drama factor, and it goes to the horror. So you do get that. So you do kind of get like that little up and down roller coaster movement. But other than that, it's a pretty decent, good story. Like the actors and the actresses who play their parts, they do a pretty good job, you know, translating everything and, you know, playing their roles correctly. I really couldn't say anybody did a terrible acting job. They did a pretty decent job. Nothing Oscar worthy or anything like that, but they, you know, they did what they were supposed to do. They carried over the story well, and they did, you know, what was meant to do. Does that mean this movie is amazingly great? It's okay. It's decent. It's not great. But I'm telling you right now, it's way better than Annabelle's whack ass. But it's not like something I would be like raving over. But I actually could sit and watch this movie, and I was actually into it and watching it front to back. And not only that, what I did like is that, you know, around the end of the movie, you know, I'm a sucker for twists, and they have a twist in the movie that I really did like, and it actually made the movie better to me, because at some point I was like, it seemed kind of getting sort of predictable, and then they hit you with that twist real quick that kind of just turned everything around and just took it to another level. And I appreciate that they did that, because if they didn't, this movie would have just been a basic movie about spirit board and Ouija board, and, you know, you already know what's gonna happen. But they kind of like turn the tables on you, and it actually works for the film's favor. So I do appreciate that they did that, and they didn't just go the standard route with this, you know, this concept, because the Ouija board concept has never really gotten, well, it probably has, but never really gotten a straight focus. You know, they've used it before in like other movies as little side things or things like that, but never really had a deep focus on the board and the Ouija board and what it does, and, you know, how it's a channel between, you know, the dead and, you know, the reality, and what can happen if you improperly use the board and everything like that. So I do like that movie, and for the most part, it's a decent movie. I mean, I can't say, oh, I'm jumping up out of my seat, you know, giving it a standing ovation, but I didn't leave the theater, you know, upset or thinking I wasted my time watching the movie. So I definitely think it's a decent movie. Good one watcher, you know, if you want to go to the theater, because it just drops today. I would recommend that you go see it, but, you know, I don't think you should, you know, expect to have the greatest horror movie of the year in Ouija. But they did write it well. It was acted well. It was shot well. You know, the story, the concept, I liked it. You know, it's a little bit of a different variation. It's not, you know, because everybody's doing the whole paranormal spirit thing, but with the Ouija element, it does kind of give it a sort of different spin, and you get more of a story going on within, you know, the spirits. You kind of figure out about what the spirits are and why they're doing this. So it's not just like some random spirit gets conjured up and it wants to start haunting people. There's a reason behind all this, and, you know, you kind of figure out that story. So I do appreciate that. So for the most part, Ouija's a pretty good movie. I mean, you know, I was impressed. I really expected less from the movie than what I got. I wasn't going in with high expectations, and it actually, you know, did better than what I expected. So I can appreciate that, and I'm glad that they did a good job. They actually, you know, made a decent movie, and, you know, nothing more to say. You know, other than it was a little slow at parts. They had that roller coaster element, and it's not 100% amazing horror movie, but the scares here, I would say the scares here were a lot better than, you know, most you know, rated R horror movies. They really timed their scares right. They did it in a good way. They, you know, had you on the edge of your seat at some points, waiting for that scare, and just to kind of trick you and then hit you with another one right back. So they really perfectly timed, you know, how they do these scares and stuff like that. So I do appreciate that. So definitely, hey, nothing more to say, but Ouija, you did a pretty good job, okay? So my final verdict, I'm not saying that Ouija is just a pretty okay, decent movie. Not amazing, but definitely not whack. All I'm saying is that if you plan on watching a horror movie that dropped this month and want to get a decent scare and a decent viewing, all I can say is that Ouija may be your best bet. It's very well told. The scares are pretty decent. The story's pretty decent. You know, the actors and actresses do a good job, and it is enjoyable to watch, and it's something that, you know, I think you can, you know, get through without being like, when is this movie gonna stop? And it's just not too cliche. They executed things well. I like the fact that they did use the Ouija board as, you know, the main focus, and they actually, you know, told the story of the Ouija board and you know, what it can and can't do and the powers it has. So it's very, very well told, and I did appreciate the twist that they had. So it's a pretty good movie. One watcher, I would say, but pretty good nonetheless. So not Granddad approved, but Ouija is definitely Granddad recommended. So if you want to go check it out, I have no problem saying check it out. You know, Is it worth the $11.50 popcorn and a drink? Maybe just the $11.50. I'd say bring your own popcorn and a drink. Don't buy the movie popcorn and a drink. It's not worth that much, all right? But honestly, I would say, if anything, if you don't plan on seeing it in the movie, definitely go get it on Redbox when it drops, because it is worth that at least, all right? So for the most part, Ouija, you did a pretty good job. I really enjoyed the movie. I wouldn't see it again though, because it wasn't that enjoyable for me, but it was something that I could watch and I wouldn't go away saying any bad things about it too bad. All right, so definitely check out Ouija in theaters today. Do the thing, all right? Flip it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and drop a comment. Tell me what you think of Ouija if you've already seen it. And if you haven't yet, head up to theater today. Go check it out and come back here and let me know the feedback. Also, previous videos on the side as well as my music video. Go ahead and check those out. Show them some love. And as always, Twitter, Facebook, SoundCloud, Instagram. Links in the description below. And also, something new. Next week is Halloween. Next Friday. We're 7 days away. I want to do something different. So what I want to do is I want to do another movie review, but I want to do a classic Halloween movie review. And I'm not quite sure. I got a few ideas bouncing around, so I want to hear from you guys, either on my Facebook or on this video or on Twitter, anywhere. Let me know what classic Halloween movie you would want me to review, and I'll do a classic Halloween movie review. I want to do it just for Halloween, something special, so definitely get involved with that. Drop a comment. Tell me what you would like me to review. Nothing's off limits, but it has to be a classic movie. It has to be something made at least in around, you know, early 2000s, like 2001, 2002 minimum, back to, you know, 90s, 80s, something like that. Nothing that was made in the last like 10 years. Definitely not, all right? So make sure you do that. And after you do that, then subscribe to my channel. Button on the screen, button below, hit either one. Doesn't matter, I'm with it. New videos every Tuesday and every Friday, like I said. So definitely make sure you do that so you can get the Woolly Reviews on a regular basis. So until next time, I take my leave. Granddad, Ouija, I'm out of here.